Welcome back to another episode of A Moment in Rhyme. In this week's episode, we're going to meet saxophonist S. Raman Iyer.
So how did you become a musician, sir?
See, that is like asking how come you are born in that family. It's something that you don't, like some Mr. A falls in love with Miss X. You can say, why did you fall in love with that? I suppose it's you can't really explain that, The more you analyze it, the more you will only have questions. So you'll have only questions to your answers. You won't have answers to your question. So how did I get into music is something that I try not to answer. First of all, I don't know. Second of all, I don't want to justify my existence in the field of music. That is my composition.
So, sir, if you, is it not possible to put any other type of music into jazz? Like, can't you make any music into jazz?
No, we can. See, that's what I was saying. We have to be sensitive, and this is what I wrote about jazz events. Jazz events, first of all, in Bangalore, as an event, they don't market it very well, That's one thing. Second thing, even when they do, the audience that lands up usually just comes there, out of curiosity perhaps, not really aficionados. So, what happened in Bangalore itself, we had a surge in jazz in the early times of the development of the IT industry, like this S.M. Krishna Chief Minister period. What happened was he brought in a lot of IT companies, and many of them were from the US or Germany, where they were exposed to, and Japanese love jazz. So these companies, they looked for jazz outlets, jazz joints, and we were playing at that time this place called Pinch of Jazz. And that used to be a sellout. Every night we played there with the Gerard Machado network. I was playing with them, and it used to be a sellout. It was a really good one. And I had actually offers to go to London and study some more jazz, but because of my family, my father was not well, I couldn't go. Jazz as such needs to be marketed. It's a very, very niche segment. And third thing is that, like you said, you can take a Beatles song and make it into jazz. There is no problem with that, because if one says that jazz is perhaps the most evolved form of popular music. It used to be popular in those days. It used to be the dancehall music, it used to be the radio music, it used to be the big band, and the entertainment music, and film music was based on jazz. It slowly, everything has a shelf life, and jazz music also, after some time, it started giving way to rock and roll and this sort of thing, and then popular music as such emerged in the form of pop divas and the marketing strategies and all of that. So jazz music today is always open to collaborations. Without losing its identity, it collaborates. So one very great example of that is this guy called very famous trumpeter called Wynton Marsalis. So Wynton Marsalis is very, very good in all of these things, and I'd also in those days as a journalist interviewed this very famous trumpeter called Dizzy Gillespie, very famous American trumpeter. And he was of the opinion, because jazz is taken from its own roots, blues, and then it went into jazz went into it took some classical influences. Charlie Parker and all listened to a lot, saxophonists like Charlie Parker, and a lot of them listened to a lot of Western classical, so they imbibed that. Then it went into the Brazilian thing, more Afro blues sort of thing, and then it went into also the European jazz sort of thing, more very modal, and Japanese thing, and now Indian jazz, that is Indo jazz, we call it Indo jazz. So Indian element and jazz element, we're trying to fuse it, and that is what Dizzy Gillespie had predicted in those days.
So you mentioned earlier about your counseling.
Yes.
So how does music therapy actually work?
I don't give music therapy as such. Music acts as a outlet, but having said that, music as a standalone therapy has never been found to be very effective. It's not a See, it is not a very evidence-based approach, music therapy. It's very subjective and emotional. Whereas what I do is evidence-based interventions.
Right.
Like for a drug addict, like say he's come out of drugs and he needs something to do in life. You don't just tell a person don't use drugs. You want to tell him what do you want to do with your life. So you find out what their interests, hobbies, and their passions and all that. Put them in that thing, and then music therapy works not as a standalone therapy. It is an adjunct. It is a supplement. It complements the other therapies, the main therapy that's going on, especially counseling and.
So can you tell us a little bit about your counseling?
Counseling,
and the organization that you work for?
See, I'm connected with a few organizations, but right now I have my own thing called Come Talk to Me Tara Counseling Services. It's just a matter of having people talk to me, whatever distress or whatever kind of trauma or crisis they're facing. Come and talk to me. Let us see if we can arrive at some sort of a solution.
If you don't mind my asking, what kind of people do you get calls from?
It's counseling. Counseling if one wants to call it that, my specialization is more into addiction, drug addiction and alcoholism. So most of the time people who are already in recovery from that or people who want to get into that, they call me.
So what is it like to sit there and hear it every 15 minutes? So I think what I'm curious about is how do you deal with callers who are struggling with drug addiction?
Yeah.
How do you?
First
what kind of things do you say to them?
First thing is you want to find out if they're on their own or whether they have used drugs today. There are some initial. First of all, are you on your own? Second of all, have you used any drugs today? Third, would you like to come and talk or do you want to carry on the phone? So you try to assess, but assessment is very important. Assessment is a history taking. When did you start and how much are you using? So there are certain standard formats like the tweak and cage and all that. Those things are there.
Is this a Paul Fernandez?
Yeah, this is the one. Yes, my school alma mater, Bishop Cotton gave it to me.
So how do you balance between being a saxophonist and a counselor?
It just happens very organic. For example, you see, last week there was some 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 major events. One event I didn't play, but my snooker team won, so I had to be there. They're saying 5 major events, So this week I have had not many events. I think there won't be any event this week, thankfully. Because why do I say thankfully? Because I need some me time.
Right.
Walking, spending time with my puppies, spending time with my daughter when she comes back. She's 27 now. On 25th of September was her birthday, so we drove down to this place called Therapap in what's that place? Past Whitefield, and it's a big farm full of pups and dogs running about and all that. And you can also eat there. And human beings are very welcome there. Of course, they don't give dog food to human beings, but, they give some nice food and they give dogs their food and So I'm just saying, you see, we need to balance. So this week, what happened? I addressed an assembly on last night was 70 people. Night before was 60 people.
Addressed them about
this addiction and methods of recovery and personal experience, etc. So in the meanwhile, a lot of people call me on the phone me and this and that. So today I got delayed, sorry, because the insurance people called. I have to renew some insurances. And
That's
so all these things is how I balance between music and this. See, so many phone calls.
It's okay, sir.
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
take that.
nice
No
ringtone, so.
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
play us some of your some jazz?
Jazz, eh?
If you don't
Okay,
mind.
I just give me a second. One second. Okay. Okay. Thank